Wuthering Waves comes out in just a few days, and we got some crazy confirmation, which I'm pretty sure most of us knew this by now because of the information that's available on the internet. But if you didn't know, there was a rumor going around that Wuthering Waves was going to allow us to have the extra pulls as well as a beginner banner that was going to be shortened, similar to Sorrow, where instead of the 50 pulls, instead of reduced rates, so it's actually 40 pulls. And then the most hype thing, the most important thing, was going to be the guaranteed beginner banner that, well, now we know it happens after. So there's a novice banner and then a beginner banner, and then that'll turn into a standard banner, and each of these go in order. So you need to go through the novice banner first, which is going to be reduced rate 40 pulls. Then you'll go to your beginner banner, and this is cool. The beginner banner is you can select which banner you're pulling on, and that is going to be the guaranteed character that pops up. There is no 50-50. There is no, oh man, I got something. No weapon. It's that character. If I want Caltro, I go on the banner, I get Caltro at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever pulls it happens, by the 80th pull, I'm guaranteed to get Kakarot. And if you get it early, that's even better, because now you can start on the standard banner pulls on a normal standard banner, and then potentially get the 5-star weapons or other standard characters that you would just appreciate having. But for some of my newer players, especially if you're coming from like Soulsborne titles or Devil May Cry, the action games, I don't expect you to know why this is important when it comes to a gacha game, and this video is for you. This video is also for people who may be free to play or trying to go free to play, and you're teetering on like what you should do in terms of who you should pick. And I'm going to tell you that because I have some very valid information that I feel like people are not taking into consideration, but it is what it is. Anyway, let me briefly explain the benefit of selectively starting in a gacha game. I guess I should say Wuthering Waves because this video is about Wuthering Waves, but apply it to everything. The way that I've broken down this simple step, right, this beginner portion of the video, the intro, if you will, is in 3 simple steps, 3 points. The first point, simple enough: with proper targets, you can lock down your 2 guaranteed 5 stars for the strongest team at $0. What do I mean by that? Well, I just explained to you about the 2 banners, the novice banner and then the beginner banner, both guaranteed to get something. The novice banner is going to be the one that gives you a random 5-star character, and then the beginner banner, which you're also guaranteed to get within a month of so of playing the game, just at a casual level, not trying to bum rush through it in a couple days or spend a bunch of money, whatever the case may be. You're guaranteed to get that from the beginner banner at 80 pulls, or at least if you get unlucky, then you get it to 80 pulls. And that's the one that you're going to choose, right? You can select who you're going to get. But the power in this is that you can start in a gacha game in Wuthering Waves with 2 5-star characters, very powerful 5-star characters if you choose them correctly, to set you up for the future. And if you get it early, that means you can save the rest of your pulls for future characters, limited banner characters, limited weapons, whatever you want to do, and that's much more beneficial to anyone's account. This goes into my next point, which is that it allows you to immediately invest into your account without wasting any resources. If in the event you were able to get, let's say, Kakarot and Verena very early on in your gameplay, I'll say within 1 month's time of playing the game, you are now able to selectively pump every single resource that would be required to go into Kakarot and Verena. You do not have to waste time leveling up 4-star characters that you're only using to progress through the story or through the game, whatever the case may be, just to then change them once you get a 5-star later down the road. Getting them this early on allows you to focus on the exact team you want to build without wasting anything. And in Wuthering Waves, resources, especially premium resources, have proven to be very expensive. And as of right now, I don't even know if you can buy them. In other games, you can buy those resources if they become too expensive and you just spend some money. Wuthering, I don't think you can, at least from what I saw in CBT2, but then again, I'm American. We couldn't pay for stuff. And the last point is something that I mentioned earlier, which is pretty much just you can start saving for the limited characters and weapons early on. A good example of this, or a great example, is if I know I want Kakarot, my game plan here is grab Kakarot from the novice banner, choose Verena from the standard banner, the beginner banner, and then save everything else for Yin Lin and her weapon, because that's what I would want to do to be the strongest team possible, or at least have the strongest team possible on my account. And so now some of you are probably asking yourself, well, then what's the best route? What's the best character combo? Who should I get? What do they do? And a lot of you still don't know what they do, especially because of the fact that they've been changing character kits from CBT 1, 2, and then now the release. But we'll get into that at another point in time. As of right now, I can easily give you guys a brief overview of every single character at a base level on what they're doing, what you should be looking out for, and how they operate. Now I have OCD, so I'm going to do this in alphabetical order. Cool. Kalturo, aka Kakarot, which would not be in alphabetical order anymore if I named him Kakarot, but Kakarot's so cool because Goku, right? But like Kalturo, like the more you say it, the more it grows on you. But I don't think it's gonna beat Kakarot. Anyway, Kakarot, possibly the highest damage potential during early and late game. He's got a low skill floor, which means this is, by the way, guys, I'm a fighting game player, competitive, or used to be. So a lot of the terms that I will be using are fighting game related, and then I'll explain it to you either through here, me and you, one-on-one, you know what I'm saying? Or I'll do it on screen, but regardless, you'll hear it. Low skill floor means that a character has a very low barrier entry. It means that in order to learn this character, how to operate this character, it's very easy or lower than the rest of the cast, so that you don't have to stress about trying to learn how this character functions, what they should do, what combos you can come up with. It's very fluid. It's easier to play the character. But Kalturo has a high skill ceiling. What that means is the potential to get to the top with a Kakarot is very high. The damage potential, the combo potential, the team construction potential, all these different things lead up to a high skill ceiling. And typically in fighting games, that means that the character can be very strong, sometimes top tier. Now, a strong early game team for Kakarot that's going to let you face roll any boss is going to be Kakarot, Mortify, and then Verena or Baiji. I'll explain that briefly here, and I'm not going to explain it anymore for the rest of the teams. Verena is the best buffer in the game by far, and that's practically because she's the only buffer that we have in the game, because she's team-wide. She buffs the entire team, and she heals you, which is kind of crazy to think about. Baiji does the exact same thing, just mini. The difference is Baiji has a direct buff from her Forte skills. I'll explain that later. But you can change this, or you can modify this, so that you give her the healer relic set or the healer echo set. I forget the specific name, like overglowing something or whatever, but you give her that set, and then that set has the ability to do what Verena does, which is a 15% attack boost to the entire team. Baiji can now do that on top of her direct buff. So that's why you'll hear me say Verena or Baiji, or you might hear other people say Verena or Baiji. That explains why those two in particular, the only ones that do that. And as I said, that's pretty much the early game team, right? Kakarot, Mortify, and then Verena. Mortify is going to be a character that basically buffs all heavy attacks. Kakarot loves that. But eventually you're going to replace Mortify with Yinlin if you pull her. You should absolutely be pulling Yinlin if you're going to be pulling Kakarot. And the last little point here is that he has a great echo set, which is going to be the Void Thunder. Very easy, very simple, very clean. It boosts everything for him, which is electro damage. Nothing specific at all that you have to do to make these things trigger. Next up, we have Encore, baby girl. One of, if not the highest damage potential in the game. This is wonderful for me, but she has a high skill floor. That's why I say potential. Early game, the high skill floor is going to take a huge factor. And remember what I said earlier about low skill floor. Now you have the reverse, high skill floor. It's a lot harder to capitalize and optimize on everything that she's going to want. A big factor to this is because the game is active. A lot of what the game has to offer, or rather what the game is going for, is going to be enemies that are coming at you. Some come fast, some come slow and they hit really hard, some dodge with you, a lot of different factors. And Encore has one of those kits where she has long animations which compile and do a lot of the damage, but often you're going to be dodging or parrying or even switching out just to avoid getting hit. And being able to master that at any point in time, whether that be the execution, which is what I'll refer to it from this point forward as high execution, being able to master the high execution that Encore would require will give you the high skill ceiling to get that almost possibly highest damage potential in the game. Now, a strong team core for this character is going to be Encore and then Verena slash Baiji, no third. I'm going to explain that in my whole team building video in a little bit, whenever that comes out. But point being is that she doesn't have a direct support right now. And it kind of feels like, from my own playtesting of the character, I would rather have 2 characters that I can swap in and out of instead of 3 characters, because the third character takes up more time to do whatever it is they're doing, when I could just get the damage from Encore and have Encore on the field anyway, doing whatever it is that she's doing. But this is a high execution thing, so I'm not recommending this to everybody. I'm just throwing the idea out there because she doesn't have a third direct support. So you can pretty much use whatever you want that you're comfortable with if you really want a third. And mentioning the no direct support, that's kind of one of the negatives that I have written down about Encore. But in turn, she has some strong switch tech potential. Switch tech is going to be something that you'll see. I think people are calling it swap canceling. I don't know where that name came from, but the proper term is switch tech. It literally derives from Naruto Storm. And there's so many implications behind what switch tech brings to the table. I'll go over that in its own video once the game comes out fully and I can be able to fully explore what is in the game and what it doesn't allow in the game. But as far as my awareness of switch tech, Basically, you're switching out a character during their animation so that your other character comes in, and then that character that you were previously on, so character A, is still doing the animation full or half animation, which means you get the benefit of that. And then character B has swapped in and they can start their animation, their ultimate, do whatever they want. And you can double down on damage, double down on positioning. There's a lot of different things that Switch Tech has to offer. So like I said, I'll explain that further whenever the game fully releases. And I can explain and dig really deep into what this game has to offer, because we've barely touched what's possible. And the last thing about Encore is that if you are a high execution player, you know what you're doing, and you're very good at the game, she is busted as f. Some of these characters, when you master execution, allow you to do some crazy stupid stuff. And for me, fighting game player, I love that. Next is going to be Jianshin, which is your arrow gauntlet user, if I'm not mistaken. She's basically an all-around tank type of character, more like a jack of all trades. She doesn't excel at anything, and she's not weak at anything either. Now, her position is going to be best for sub DPS or solo gameplay. It doesn't mean that she can't be a main DPS, but due to her long animations, slow attacks, and she consumes a lot of field time, she plays clunky with other teammates. And so as of right now, Jianshin has not been fully mastered. I don't think a lot of players have really dove deep into her. And in fact, most players are looking at her as one of the weaker, if not the weakest 5-star / character in the game. Me personally, I don't agree with that. But do I want to test that? Probably not. Now, Jianshin has a high skill floor due to all of the things that I just mentioned, and she has a mid ceiling as of right now due to the things that I just mentioned. However, she has some benefits for those who love this character like I do, because she reminds me of Jam from Guilty Gear. Her intro skill, which is when she comes into the field after being swapped into, launches normal enemies. So anything that's like a normal, not an elite, not a boss, he launches them into the air. They get propped up, and that starts a launch combo, which again, fighting game terminology, it just means the enemy is unguarded. They can't guard. They're stuck in the middle of the air for a couple of seconds, and you can juggle them. Juggle is familiar if you're familiar with Tekken. That means that I can beat the crap out of you while you can't touch the ground, and it's free hits for me. Jianshin is the character that lets you do that in this game. So cool. She also provides shielding. Healing? Wow, I did not know that was a word. She provides shielding, healing. Her ultimate buffs, like she buffs all ultimates thanks to her outro skill. She provides CC, which is known as crowd control, and she has innate parries built into her kit. So you don't have to worry about using the parries in the game, although you should still be using those, but she has her own parries. As of right now, a decent or good team with Jianshin would be Chixia, Jianshin, and the usual Verena / Baiji, because she doesn't have direct support. Take all of that with a grain of salt, because we have confirmation, they put it in the dev blog, she is getting a rework or buff. We don't know which one yet, but something's happening to Jianshin on launch. I'll revisit this whenever we get it. Next, you have Ling Yang. Ling Yang is going to be a simple glacial or ice DPS with fast attacks. There's not too much to say about this character due to the simplicity in his kit. Very strong team core consists of Ling Yang, Sanhua, and Verena. This character has a low skill floor, but a mid skill ceiling. And keep that with a grain of salt as well. Not because they're getting a buff, but because I don't believe Ling Yang has also, I don't think he's been fully explored. I think this character is slept on. But again, I need to test this character. I didn't get him during the CBT2, so I couldn't test him. My friend did, and we saw some stuff. In short, TLDR, Ling Yang has the potential to do something that in fighting games is very abusable / broken. In a gacha game or an action RPG, I'm not entirely too sure. I'm going to explain this in two different ways, real quick. The fighting game terminology and then the Elden Ring terminology. In a fighting game, if a character has high movement, let's take Chip from Guilty Gear. Chip is a character, he's a ninja, which means his ability to move around the enemy. I can get in, I can get out, I can mix you up, I can appear behind you, I can appear in front of you, I can appear above your head, below you, from behind, all kinds of crap. I can dash through you, counts as an attack, and get a full combo. There's a lot that Chip is able to do through movement alone, and with that key factor, that makes him one of the strongest hidden potential characters in the game. That means if a character or if a player is very strong and very good at playing this character, they can take that character to the top. But at an innate base level, this character is 50-50. They're either really good or just okay, and there's really no in between. Now, in Elden Ring's case, we have the Bloodhound step, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what it's still called, which is like the phew, right? You dash through the enemies, whatever. Two key things about what I mentioned, both from Chip and from Elden Ring, the Bloodhound step. These have iframes or invulnerability during the action of the dash. Chip dash through enemy, I'm invul. You usually don't touch me, and because fighting games are fair, we can punch them, but you know, whatever. You usually don't do that. You have to react fast. And your roll in Elden Ring is a little slower sometimes, or there's certain iframes, like in Dark Souls 1, whatever. I'm turning into a Soulsborne lore guy. You guys get what I'm saying. Why is this important for Ling Yang? Because Ling Yang has a Forte skill. Forte skill is basically his hidden ability from Pokemon, okay? You build up the meter at the bottom of the screen, and then they're able to do things they normally are not able to do until you build up that meter. Ling Yang hops on the drums, he jumps in the air, and now his entire kit is aerial. For 10 seconds, at least after you use his ultimate, there's some conditions to that, but whatever. For 10 seconds, he's in the air doing pum, 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 hopping behind or through drum after drum, right? Jump from drum to drum, and he's beating up the enemy. I'm on this drum, boom, 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 bam. I jump through you. I'm on the other drum, boom, 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 bam. One of the things that I was not able to test was whether or not this was controlled omnidirectional. There's so many things that go through my head about Ling Yang that could make him great. But the key thing, if his jump through is invul, if it has iframes, that would theoretically make him one of the better characters, one of the better DPS characters in the game, because now I don't have to worry about dodging. Any character in this game that allows you to continue the pressure, to continue attacking, and you don't have to worry about the game's mechanics, dodging, parrying, getting hit, taking damage, whatever. You don't have to worry about that, and I can keep doing damage. You are automatically good. Top tier even, right? I'm not going to call him top tier, but potential. So to round off Ling Yang, he is a potential sleeper DPS if my FGC mechanics apply to the game. Last, we have Verena. Verena is the best healer and team-wide buffer in the entire game, for reasons that I explained earlier, but I'll explain it again. Not only does Verena heal the entire team for like 9 to 10 seconds, or something like that, she also buffs the entire team's attack by 15% by herself, built into her innate kit, right? Her outro skill is buffed by 15% for 30 seconds. Now you take the outglowing healing set, or whatever it was that I mentioned earlier, the healer set. You take that echo set, you put it on Verena, and now that doubles, because the healer set also buffs your attack for 15 seconds, or by 15% for 30 seconds. Now you add that with Verena, and you're giving your entire team a 30% attack boost, multiplicative to my understanding, for 30 seconds. That is what makes Verena the best support in the game as of right now. Now you take that buff and you add on low field time, which means she doesn't have to be on the field for a long time. She comes in, comes out, allowing your main DPS to take full advantage, or at least a majority of the advantage of that attack boost during those 30 seconds. She also has a 10-minute cooldown auto revive, which may seem really long, right? 10 minutes is probably really long, but to be fair, you should only be popping this auto revive once per battle in those 10 minutes, and that's even if you need it, due to the fact she has absurd healing, still gives you that huge damage boost on her outro skill, and she works on literally every single team. There is no strong team core with Verena. She makes the strong team core. Everybody plus Verena is a strong team core. So now that I've wrapped up every single overview of the characters, and I know that might have taken a little bit of time, I apologize if it took too long, but I really wanted to give a brief and in-depth understanding of the character, and then what makes them good, pick, or broken. I don't want to use the term broken, but strong. So now we get down to the very nitty-gritty, the finality, if you will. Which is the best character to choose from your guaranteed 80 banner hitty? I have 3 options, because this is kind of easy to be fair. Number 1, and this is the obvious one, Verena. Verena is by far the best one that anybody should pick if you are the player who wants to min, max, and optimize your account. If you don't care about doing any of that and you just want to have fun and catch all the echoes in the game like Pokemon, and whatever character you get is what you get, don't pick Verena. It's that simple. By no means is Verena a must pull, especially if you fall under that category that you don't care what you get. Me, Pectone, and a couple other people really don't want to get Verena because we just don't like her. I don't like her gameplay and I don't like the character design. But I am a min-max optimizer, so I'm probably gonna end up getting Verena anyway. But let's say you don't want Verena. Let's say you are a more based player, if you will, and you want Yin Lin. You are a Yin Lin wanter. Then you pick Caltro. And this, of course, is if you don't get Caltro during your novice banner. But let's ignore the novice banner for a moment. You get Caltro. That is who you pick on your 80 because you know that you're gonna get Yin Lin. And then You have Yinlin's best partner or best DPS. You have Caltro's best partner, which is in this case Yinlin. You have some of, if not the most damage in the game, the easiest damage in the game, if you will. You don't have to have any of the high risk, high reward like a character like Danjin, and you don't have any of the high execution barrier like Encore. Plus, he's badass. And the last would be Encore. This is for my players who are like myself. I love me some high execution. I like characters that other players will not be able to master. I like characters where if everyone's playing Kakarot, but I know Encore is secretly broken, I want to play Encore. And that's probably what I'm going to do. Encore is great for both solo and duo team structures. She is a character that is basically going to be a future investment. What that means is that you will be picking up Encore now, and she may not see the top results of the chart, not yet at least, right? Obviously, I know some things that you might not know as far as damage numbers and calcs and things like that, but Encore is up there at the top of the charts. Getting there is not something that every player will be able to do. And right now, being where she is without a direct buffer or support like the other characters in the game, similar to Kakarot and Yinlin, that means once she does get her own version of Yinlin, Encore is going to spike up to the top. In short, Encore's busted as f. And that's going to be it. I know I gave you guys 3 options for like what guaranteed thing you should pick from, but it really just comes down to what you want to do, right? The min-maxers, the people who have a game plan or whatever, and then players like me who like fighting games and torturing themselves in-game, not real life. But hopefully this video gave you guys a very good understanding of everything going on with the characters. And yeah, anyway, I can't say my usual outro, but it's inappropriate for YouTube. Like the video, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you want to see more Wuthering Waves content, I'm probably live on Twitch right now. Come through. Why did I did my peace signer? Smell you later.